Here are 10 fitness myths that are total nonsense and that you need to be aware of. Spot reduction of fat, a huge question, something that people are constantly boggling their minds over. Spot reduction of fat does not exist. Different people lose fat from different areas of their body at different rates. I don't make up the rules, that's just it, okay? You might not like how that sounds, but science doesn't care about your feelings, unfortunately. There are very few arguments against this spot reduction of fat thing because there's just so much evidence to say that spot reduction of fat does not exist. No pain, no gain. Let's walk you through why this no pain, no gain attitude when it comes to training and getting the most out of your sessions isn't necessarily a very good idea. People will often say that you need to feel sore the next day or at least feel pain during the session in order to guarantee that you're making effective hypertrophy gains from that session. I'm here to tell you it doesn't work like that. Being sore the day after training is not necessarily an indicator of a good session. Then you might ask, why are your muscles sore? Well, you might have recovered really badly. Your protein intake might be low. You might be very stressed. You might have had a poor night's sleep. So because your recovery has such a huge impact in this equation, you can't put it purely on the quality of your training session. And in a similar way, people say you need to experience pain during your session, the whole no pain, no gain thing. Now, whilst training to failure is a very, very good idea, you don't necessarily need to experience pain during a session to make sure you're actually making progress. That's a little bit insane. Cardio is the best way to lose weight. This one grinds my gears. Cardio is probably one of the least sustainable ways of going about weight loss, especially for an individual that is trying to lose quite a substantial amount of weight and might not enjoy exercise or potentially struggles with exercise due to the excess weight they're carrying. Putting someone who doesn't like exercise or is overweight on a cardio-centric or cardio-focused program is the easiest and most effective way to make someone hate exercise very, very quickly, at least for the most part. So that's one thing. People don't tend to like cardio. People that are overweight definitely tend to not like cardio. People that are overweight are going to struggle more with cardio. And also, it's not even that effective for weight loss. Yes, of course, when we look at the calories in, calories out equation, we see with introducing cardio increases your calorie expenditure, but it can also increase things like appetite, which people don't talk about. So even if you burn like 300, 400, 500 calories, if you overeat afterwards as a result, you know, who cares? It's null in regard to weight loss. So it is far better to focus on nutrition rather than cardio when you're focusing on weight loss specifically, okay? Now, in my eyes, when it comes to overall health, of course, you need a balance of the two. Cardio is fantastic. I'm not shitting on cardio. But when it comes to weight loss specifically, especially for someone who's making their first steps into a weight loss phase, you can do that without any exercise whatsoever, okay? If you drop someone's calories appropriately, they will lose weight. They don't even need to think about the exercise side of things at all if they don't want to. Because the most important thing when it comes to weight loss is adherence and consistency. And making someone do disgusting HIIT workouts and go on long runs and bike rides or whatever it may be is not a way to get someone to start enjoying the process from an early stage. Whereas simply putting someone in a slight calorie deficit is going to help them kind of ease into things, right? They're going to see some benefits. They're going to see that weight come down. They're not going to be completely overwhelmed by some incredibly intensive training course. So you increase adherence, you increase the sustainability of the approach, with the end result being the individual enjoying the process more and getting long-term results rather than doing some incredibly intense cardio for a few weeks, then dropping out because they start hating it. Basically, to wrap up that point, you can do all the cardio in the world, but if you're still in a caloric surplus, you're not going to lose weight. Here's a somewhat controversial one. Abs are made in the kitchen. Arguably, yes, abs might be more so made in the kitchen than they would be in the gym. You need a balance of both, okay? People absolutely love to say, oh yeah, you know, you can do all the crunches and all the kind of sit-ups in the world, but if you're still carrying body fat, no one's going to see your abs. It's like, yeah, that's totally correct and that's right. But if you don't do the appropriate training as well as when you lose that weight, you're not really going to have a very defined six-pack or abs underneath. You need an element of both. It's not focused on one over the other. It rarely works like that in any conversation, especially things in regard to health, nutrition, diet, etc. It's rarely one or the other. It's often a combination of the both, right? It's often the grey area. I'm getting carried away here. Basically, abs not entirely made in the kitchen and abs not entirely made in the gym. Probably about 50-50. Let's all chill out on that one. The more you sweat, the more calories you burn. This one, again, absolutely kills me. I'll keep it brief. Sweating just means your body is trying to regulate its temperature. That is it. You can sweat just through being hot, okay? doesn't necessarily mean you're burning any more calories than you would be otherwise. Calorie burn is not solely determined by sweat in any way, shape or form, in any stretch of the imagination. We see high calorie expenditure when people do long bouts of cold exposure. They're not bloody sweating, are they? Muscle turns into fat when you stop exercising. And I had this teacher, I won't name drop her, but she was an RE teacher, who had a massive issue with us going to the gym. We were probably about 15, 16 at the time. She had a massive issue with us going to the gym. And she always said, oh, as soon as you stop working out, all that muscle's just going to turn to fat. And we were like, what? Even back then at 16, we knew that wasn't the case, right? Muscle and fat are completely different tissues. There is no evidence anywhere to say that muscle can turn into fat. You can gain fat if you sit around and you have a very high calorie intake. You can gain fat by all means, but it's not your muscle that's turning into fat. Let's just rule that one out. So to that RE teacher that used to try and scare us out of going to the gym because she was going to say muscle turns to fat when you get 50 years old or whatever, stay in your own lane. So yeah, that one, load of bollocks. Women shouldn't lift heavy weights because women will get bulky. This one's absolutely hilarious. There are so many women that are so afraid of committing to a hypertrophy-based or resistance-based training program because they're scared of getting bulky. The reason why this is so funny is because there are blokes, right? Bloke meaning guy, man, etc., who are doing everything in their power to try and get bulky, all right? And it's bloody hard for some people. Some people, somewhat easier, but for most people, it's incredibly hard to gain muscle and gain a lot of muscle. So to think you'll start doing hypertrophy, go to the gym 4 times a week or whatever, and all of a sudden you're gonna look like some kind of butch bodybuilder. It doesn't work like that. Most guys actually wish it did. So don't worry about it. And the beautiful thing about training is, like, let's say, for example, you stick to a hypertrophy-based program, let's say for like 3 months, okay? You might gain some significant muscle mass in 3 months. You're going to look at a lot more over 6 months, over 12 months, and then 2 years, etc. It takes a long time. And if you do notice body parts getting bulky or in a way you don't like, just start training them less. It's that simple. Train those areas less, focus more on another area of training, sort out any imbalances and you're Gucci. I should really have like definitions here. Gucci equals good. This one's an interesting one. Eating before bed makes you fat. Now, this was a belief for lots of people, and some people still hold this belief. There is some research, and pretty good research, that's come out over the last few years to say that the time of day that you eat actually might have an impact on how you utilize those calories and how you might end up gaining or losing weight dependent on when you eat in the day, okay? Some research, not much. There are many cases in Costa Rica, one of the famous blue zones, where they'll eat a massive breakfast and then they'll basically teeter off, and by dinner they eat almost nothing, and they have incredibly low rates of obesity. So there are some links there and some interesting things that you might not want to overlook, but the vast majority of research says that the biggest indicator for whether you're going to be gaining weight or losing weight is how many calories you eat in that day, not when you eat them, okay? So I think it's a bad idea to start thinking about when you're eating your calories. And first and foremost, you should definitely focus on your daily calorie expenditure. This is the one that we know. This is what's got the most research behind it. This has the most backing. If you're trying to lose weight, you want to be in a calorie deficit on a daily basis. You need to have gym access to have an effective workout. Now, this one pisses me off a little bit because it's so far from the truth, okay? And it's such discouraging information for someone that A, can't afford gym access, doesn't have gym access, and still wants to get healthy. You're just putting someone down and you're validating any excuse they might have in their mind to not exercise and not work out, okay? So I've got a big issue with this one. So many of my clients do entirely home-based workouts, okay? So many of them for a variety of reasons. Some people don't feel comfortable in a gym yet. You can always work your way there. Some people can't afford access to a gym. Some people just don't like the gym environment, and some people just like doing it at home. Some people struggle for time and they might only have 20 minutes a day to train, in which case a gym just isn't a viable option. They have to make it work for their situation. And something I always say to my clients is there is no such thing as a bad situation. We can always, always, always make the most of your situation, okay? Always. So, to summarize, you can have a very effective workout in 20 minutes at home. There are effective bodyweight workouts out there. This is, of course, goal dependent, let's bear in mind. If you want to gain significant muscle mass, I would personally advise probably getting a gym membership if you can to access the equipment and the heavier weights that you might need down the line to gain significant muscle mass, okay? That being said, you can still have an amazing session at home. At the very least, home workouts serve so many different functions. So A great introduction to exercise if you're someone new to exercise. They're also an amazing time-saving method for working out. You have access to so many different types of movements just from your home without any equipment whatsoever, okay? Yoga, full body sessions, HIIT sessions, circuit training, like the list goes on. And if you want to get yourself some dumbbells and some other equipment, then great. You can have effective sessions. It is goal dependent, but you can do a lot. And at the very least, it's an amazing starting point. So for anyone that's been told that they need access to a gym to have a good session, please God, don't listen to that person. You can do a lot from home. If you need some help with your programming or some guidance, just drop me a message. I'm all ears. I'm here to help. And this last fitness myth is on muscle toning. I want to tone up. I want to tone up my muscles. I want to tone up my belly. I want to tone up my legs. Right. Muscle doesn't tone. Toning is this idea of like slimming down and increasing definition. And lots of people think that there are ways of training to do that, like kind of high volume or kind of like going around these tiny 1 kilo dumbbells and sort of doing all this stuff. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. The way that you increase definition, i.e. toning, is you need to have enough muscle mass to show through. And you don't need a ton, you need a small amount. And the other, hate to say it, is losing weight. If you're lacking definition in an area, it could well be due to the fact that you have excess weight covering that muscle. And by losing weight, you will show more definition, you will appear more toned. But it is very much a two-part thing. You need to have adequate muscle mass and adequate body fat to appear toned. I don't make the rules, that's just how it is. There are no specific exercises and workouts that will help you tone up per se. It's a combination of diet, lifestyle, exercise, etc. So I hope these helped. This will probably act as my first YouTube video potentially. I will be chopping these up into little clips for my Instagram and TikTok, etc. Let's see how we get on. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Stay tuned, I'll be posting every single week. At least I'm going to do my best to post every single week. You can catch me on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn if you want to see some more. And if you want to book in for a chat with myself or you're interested in my one-to-one coaching service, by all means, ping me a message over Instagram or email, and I'm more than happy to sit down and have a chat with you and see how we can figure out a good pathway for you to address your weight loss goals, muscle gain goals, strength gain goals, sleep optimization goals, nutrition, supplementation, and lifestyle optimization too. Just drop me a message and I'm more than happy to have a chat.